It's kind of a serious topic, but we can get through it. The coronavirus, you know, the pandemic, it has upended so many of our lives and led to a surge in divorces across the U.S. So let's get into it, y'all. Specifically, how can women rebuild and recover their lives after divorce? And joining me to talk all about this is Women's Empowerment Life Coach Tiffany Fambro. Tiffany, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Monica.
Absolutely. Okay, folks, in all transparency, Tiffany is my baby sister. She's an expert in this field, and she herself is a divorcee. That's why I wanted her here. She's been doing this for over 20 years. She's the smarty pants in the family. She has the bachelor's and the master's and working on something else. I don't know. Anyway, but Tiffany, thank you so much for being here. Let's get right into it. How has the COVID-19 pandemic affected marriages and families across the U.S.? I know you keep up with all those numbers and statistics.
Gosh, Monica, it has affected marriages and families on several different levels. Let's first talk about illness. When the pandemic first came out, we did not know what was going to happen. It was still a mystery. We didn't even know how it was being spread. So many families dealt with illness. They dealt with death. And so it heightened this psychological fear of the unknown. That was the first way. Then we talked about quarantine. I mean, overnight, people were literally having to work from home. Children were having to be taken out of school. It was quickly a disruption in the family routine. So this is something that everyone immediately had to get accustomed to. Then, Monica, when you talk about work, most of the time before COVID-19, 1/3 of our lives, 90,000 hours of the human experience was spent at work. So now you're at home with your family, yes, that you love, but you're at home dealing with this issue of the fear of the routine disruption.
Yeah.
So a marriage that was in struggle, it was just going to get worse.
Yeah. Now, of course, you know, everybody's talking about this. It's in all the news cycles, on all social media. Bill and Melinda Gates, their divorce shocked the world. I mean, I was like floored. But financially speaking, you know, they got access to any and everything they want on the planet. What about the rest of us? You know, the emotional stress. What are some of the emotional challenges that couples, women in particular, cope with that are going through divorce?
Absolutely. And Monica, you know, I went through this myself. A lot of women deal with guilt, shame, and grief. Guilt, even if they wanted the divorce, because they feel like they're the reason that the family is being pulled apart, especially if you have children involved. Then you talk about shame, this feeling of failure. You know, in our society, we kind of have this idealism of marriage, this perfect, happy life. And so when your marriage ends in a divorce, you feel like you failed yourself, your family, and even your society. Then you talk about grief. Even in the worst of marriages, this is the person you've been with for years and years and years. And many times this might be your best friend or your best confidant. But you find by the end of it, at the end of the day, it's still a loss. So you're going to go through the steps of grief.
Yeah. All right, Tiff, I don't have a lot of time left, but for women that are starting all over after divorce, what are some of the first steps that should be taken toward living a happier life? And what are some of the pitfalls they should avoid?
Absolutely. Well, Monica, I tell women to use the heal her method. Heal, envision, and reinvent. Heal yourself, forgive yourself so you can move forward, envision the new life that you want to have, and then start getting crystal clear about reinventing and taking control of this new identity you want to have moving forward. So it's the her method. Heal, envision, and reinvent.
Very cool. Okay, so after divorce, give us some examples of how women can reinvent themselves so that they can live those amazing lives that you're living there in South Carolina, sister.
Absolutely. Well, it's all about habit change, Monica. And the first thing I tell women, create clear boundaries. Say no and mean it. No is a complete sentence.
And you're good at that, by the way, telling us no. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely. You know, have those non-negotiable hours in your calendar where you have to say no so you can give to yourself. Secondly, create a powerful morning routine. Wake up, giving gratitude, journaling how you want your day to start, being thankful.
Yeah.
And third, Monica, do activities where you can really reflect on your own value and your worth and know how much you're giving back to the world.
All right, Tiff, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing your personal business. I know we've never really talked about it sitting down, but you were kind enough to pull all of us together when you had announced your divorce. So I love you, and thank you so much for sharing all of that information. And folks, just so you know, I know my sister looks very young. She's been doing this for 20 years. She's also a fitness expert. She competes in bodybuilding, so that's why she looks really young. She's not as young as she looks. Just putting it out there. All right, Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you later, sister.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, folks, and don't forget to catch my MOJ show Facebook Live tonight at 7 and throughout the week at 7 p.m. We're talking about the Las Vegas culture and news you can use. Sherry, I had to put that out there because ever since she was a child, everybody thinks she gets carded everywhere she goes.
Oh,
and I'm like,
well,
you got to think about it.
that's a great problem to have.
Yeah. It's like she's been in business for 20 years. She's older.
Well, and you know how us women are. We're looking at her going, she's so young, what does she know?
Exactly. That's
she's
why I had to say it.
No, great advice. And really, the guilt thing is so real for so many of us.
Yeah. And when you recover, you know, we're products of a divorced parent. So we know the other side of it as well. You got the women, you got the family, and then you have the kids. You know, so that's a whole different topic.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. Great advice there. Appreciate it, Monica.
All right.